of the last scanner.
Nice.
I don't think he would be here if
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't. I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Little Piper. Is this still Piper?
Yeah. I'm animating at the same time right now. Like
deadline. Yeah. I've sent it through to Victor, by the way, yesterday, Benji. But
nice.
I haven't heard back yet.
Yeah, I have Zeri. I worked a lot on Zeri and almost I did a lot actually of work on it. I can't wait to show you. I'm just waiting for Grégoire to update the teeth because she look like a grandma, you know. She don't have teeth. She have a gummy like smile, and it's like, oh, that's too creepy.
Yeah, you can't have your baby before that stuff is done, by the way.
If you guys want, I have a barbecue at mine on the 2nd of Jan. Yeah.
Tuesday. If I can bring Kate's dad.
Yeah, bring him. I want to meet Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
My parents will be here and Matt's parents as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah,
and,
you have to talk about the wedding at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Benji, you need to come with Casey because my stepfather wants to play music and he needs a band.
Yeah. Does he live in New Zealand?
No, he's French. He lives in France.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
So guys, I'll have the webinar start in 1 minute.
Cool.
So how do we know how many people will be there?
Oh, you can see how many, but right now it's close to 60.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Awesome.
Jeepers, that's a lot.
好，那我们就准备开始今天的线上研讨会。那在开始之前，就是各位参加的观众，就是如果你们可以听得到我们的声音，可以在这个 Zoom 的聊天区帮我提示一下，说这个声音是听得清楚的。好 ，OK， 谢谢。好，那我们就准备开始今天研讨会。那大家好，我是正荣国际 InCG 的主持人，我叫 Ray。那我们今天这个原创 IP 诞生的故事就准备开始。好，那在开始之前呢，就是这边也跟大家介绍一下这一次活动的主办协办，就是由 Autodesk 金牌经销商正荣国际，还有就是 Autodesk 的台湾价值代理商联强国际来为我们呈现这次的研讨会。好，那在开始在这边就是大家的留言区呢，就是等一下我们这个研讨会结束之后，如果你们在过程中有什么想要请教就是讲师的话，你们可以在这边留下你们的问题。那请记得帮我把这个所有人选起来，就是这样所有的观众才可以看得到你们问题。那个问题的部分呢，我这边到时候在 Q&A 的 session 我会再协助大家翻译给这个讲师们倾听，这样。好，那因为这一次是邀请外国讲师，所以我们有利用这个 Zoom 的内建的字幕翻译功能，所以大家现在可以稍微在下方我们的 Zoom 的工具列找到有字幕的选项，然后把它开启。就是如果有需要做字幕翻译的话，可以把它开启。 然后将口说语言设定成英文，字幕语言设定成中文。那这样到时候讲师在编讲的时候，他这个字幕会在及时的翻译。那但是如果他这个翻译的效果如果没有到很好的话，也没有关系，就是我们这个研讨会最后的录音档，我们会再上传到我们的 YouTube 频道上。那个到时候我们会再重新上一次字幕，所以如果大家还有兴趣想要再重看一次的话，就可以再关注我们的 YouTube 频道这样。好。然后这边也稍微跟大家宣传一下，就是如果近期有一些软体像 AutoCAD 还有 3ds Max 的采购的需求的话，那现在到明年的2月8号呢，就是购买都还可以，我们会有提供这个电子折价券的一个优惠，那也可以扫描这个右上方的 QR code 来看看这个详细的活动内容。好，那我们就准备要进入今天的研讨会的重点。那就是我们今天很荣幸可以邀请到就是来自纽西兰的 3D CG 工作室 Floating Rock Studio， 然后他们将为我们分享他们工作室的首部原创 IP 作品叫 Kyōryū 恐龙，来跟我们分享这个充满末日风然后日本场景的一个恐龙的对战的故事这样。然后大家也可以在现在那个讲者这边看到我们就是邀请到 Floating Rock Studio 的创办人Lucas， 还有他们的创意总监 Garrick， 还有就是这个 IP 故事的作者就是 Benjamin 来跟我们分享稍后的精彩的内容。好，那我们就准备开始吧。Okay, so Lucas, right now you can share your screen.
Oh, thank you. Here we go.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. In that case, hello everyone, and I'm gonna give it to Benjamin to talk a little bit at first about the idea of Kyōryū and where it all came from. Benji, take it away.
Hello. So I'm Benjamin. I'm the creator and the director of Kyōryū. And I decided to create this this IP because I always loved dinosaurs, and definitely as a lot of kids, I grew up with dinosaurs, and I was playing with toys. I was playing with the camera of my dad, filming small movie with my toys, and through all my childhood. My dad was very supportive of my passion for dinosaurs. And so usually some kids, when some kids move on and start to like other thing, I actually never stopped liking dinosaurs. And we kind of I had a lot of support from my dad that always bring me and drive me everywhere, to museum with dinosaurs, to digging site, paleontological sites, and going to the movie every time they were a movie with dinosaur or a documentary, which was very, very, very cool. And around when I was 10 years old, I went to see a Jurassic Park, the movie, and it blows my mind. And I knew that I wanted to be a paleontologist, but at the same time, I bought the VHS of the making of Jurassic Park, and I saw those guys building real life size robot dinosaur for the movie, and CGI ILM that made CGI for Jurassic Park. And I was like, okay, this is too amazing. They are basically giving life to dinosaurs that I always wanted to see alive. And since I was very young, I decided to start drawing, to start doing my own little movie as a kid, and start learning animation. And I went to school, and after school I started to join VFX industry, and I learned Maya. I did a lot of training on Maya to learn to animate. And at some point, I after a lot of experience, 15 years of experience, I joined Floating Rock, and they proposed me. I had this idea in mind that I wanted to create my own IP, and because I was starting to get a bit like tired of all the dinosaur IP, because it was only the same franchise, and also it was the same, like it was always like documentary, and I was like, I think it would be cool to create a completely new IP that involve dinosaur, which I became kind of specialized into it, and I started to draw, I started to write a story, and I decided to create like an IP about dinosaur in a post-apocalyptic world. So like dinosaur, but after humans. And I came up with this idea with those drawings to a Floating Rock, and Floating Rock were like, yep, we're on board. This looks pretty cool. So I was really happy. And from this day on, like it's been a bit more than a year now. And we've been working with Floating Rock to create like a lot of concept art, to create like this super cool trailer, I hope. And yeah, this is pretty amazing. We hire a lot of very talented people, and we started to work on like all the assets, the story. We hire like screenwriter, we hire really amazing concept artists like her. So and yeah, we are continuing to work on it right now.
Benji, do you want to talk us a little bit through the previous or the animatic that you did here, and what you were thinking?
Yeah.
About?
So I had in mind what I started to do is I already had in mind the kind of sequences I wanted to show for the trailer, and I started to work on the a storyboard, a little bit animated storyboard, and with like very simple drawings. And I work on the storyboard, I work on my camera, I work on like what kind of action I wanted to show. And after my storyboard, I started to show my storyboard to same people at Floating Rock, and we all talk together, and we started to move on. And so as you can see, the storyboard is pretty simple, but it's a little bit animated, which is pretty fun, honestly, to do. And so the storyboard was about, at first it was about the parents, like a dad and mom T-Rex that are protecting their eggs, and they get ambushed in the Kabukicho, which is like a famous street in an area in Tokyo. And after this, we started to talk, and we started to write more and more the story with our screenwriter, and try to relate more about like my personal life. And we decided to change the mom and the dad by a small T-Rex, a young T-Rex, and his dad, which was like kind of a comparison with me and my life. And the small T-Rex, well, we're gonna see it after, but the small T-Rex is kind of like a comparison to me, because the small T-Rex is a lot into human, and is a lot into like the human history and human artifact and anything you can find that is about human, the same way that when I was young, I was a lot about and a lot into dinosaur. So, and the dad here protecting him from like bad guys and other dinosaur, and very supportive. So same, the same way.
There's a saying that goes that when you write a story, write about what you know. And so I think like that's what Benji has done, really. He's taken his personal experience and has been able to write about that with screenwriter Ben Hawker. And I think that really gives all the heart to what is a kaiju movie in the end. But it's got a lot of emotion as well. And I think it's by writing like getting all this information from his past life, his relationship with his father, and yeah, I mean, Benji, you know that relation way more than we ever will, but the way you transcribed it in the movie is just like, it's my favorite part.
Yeah. So what I did after I jumped on the previs, which at first I didn't add any fund or anything, but I decided to like just say, okay, I don't have fund, but I know what I want. So I created those like cubes street and cubes monkey, cubes dinosaur, and I started to animate them and like, okay, I'm just gonna like tell my story and tell the way I want it to be filmed with just cubes, because this is the simplest way. Like, I don't think you should wait to have like cool asset or anything to like tell a story, and all the beauty of your project are gonna come after. And yeah, so after we like after this previs, we continued to talk, and we continued to like explore the way of like how a dad can protect his son, even if the dad like doesn't like. My dad, dinosaur was not like a big thing for my dad. He was just very supportive. He just like follow up, and it's kind of the same story here. The dad is just here to like bring his son to cool human sides and help him through like his passion for human.
What
And,
I find interesting is how you know this changed from the previous into when we actually went into production. I think that's probably the next thing that we should talk about, which is when we actually started like thinking about making this, which is when Floating Rock, this our studio, we had a venture capital investor bring us invest in us, and he basically bought into our idea that we wanted to tell our own stories. And we weren't just a service providing studio. We think that there's too many big IPs and not enough new ideas. So that was kind of like the premise of why he invested in us. And the first thing that we set up is our IP development division, and we developed this process, or we call it now an incubator program, which we call Pitch Fest, where people can pitch their ideas. And they can come and present them at one big presentation day, and we pick several ones of them, and we give them development funding to develop their ideas further. And when we were setting that whole thing up, we were thinking, oh, we need some kind of like a testing ground. We need a proof of concept that this is going to work, and that we have a pipeline and all that kind of stuff. And Benji, as soon as he heard that we had the investment come in and what we wanted to do with it, he basically went off for 2 months. And we're just, you were drawing and writing, and you made those sketches that you showed us that we've seen here, and came back to us, and we were like, who doesn't want to work on this? Let's make this.
I think it didn't take much to convince us as well. Like, he's shown us like a little bit some sketches that you've seen and some animatics, and then we saw like the potential of the IP, and we just jumped on it really.
Yeah.
And because we also Benji's character as well he's so awesome to work with.
Exactly. So that's basically it's a year and a half ago now when we decided to commit to this. And then we started putting out the plan. So it was about what do we need first to develop this universe. We hired several concept artists who helped us with this. One of them was Chase Stone, who we tasked with designing Yama, the big T-Rex dinosaur, and he was amazing. He's working a lot with Wizards of the Coast and all kinds of people, and he came back with these kinds of designs. This was the first one, is the winning design, but there was other ones as well that we were working with, and they're all based on that samurai armor, with different kinds of armor backgrounds, of course. But when I saw that for the first time, I just fell in love with it immediately, because it feels it's still realistic, but it has that new fresh element to it with the crest and the armor and everything. So that was that first kind of step, and then of course we also had to design the boss, or the antagonist. So we had Chase do a visualization of that one as well. And here's the big thing that stands out for us here is that we try to, if you saw it in the earlier sketches, we tried to get Yakuza tattoos, somehow integrated into his skin patterns. So you can kind of see it a little bit, like with the little sleeves here, and we just tried to keep it natural, and Chase did that beautifully, also here with the minions, or the smaller kind of Dimetrodons. They're just, they're based on Yakuza, so we tried to get that Yakuza kind of tattoo pattern in it. But then, of course, we also needed to build a bit more of a world, so we also hired 2 other artists, amazing. I don't know how we got so lucky with the concept artists. It was basically, Benji came to me from ArtStation. Hey, I like this artist. Can you get me that person? And I was just frantically writing emails to everyone to try and bring these people on board. So the first one who said yes was Gaëlle Séguillon, another French lady, and she was amazing too. So she created this, like we wanted to look at the a fight between the T-Rex and the Raptor clan, and she also created this, of course, which is basically the quintessential, the story point of Kyōryū, the dad with his son, and we did another one with because we love dinosaur fights, so we did some more dinosaurs fighting with each other. And this one, I love this one too. This was one of the very first one where we finally saw a bit of the world. And what a big design inspiration for us was the beautiful, with the like the cherry blossoms and the serene shrine background, with the carnage and the violence of the dinosaur fights, and that's something that will recur in the story that we have now written, where just there's always that juxtaposition of beautiful and violent, or quiet and loud, and it's that's been a really like a guiding kind of principle. And then this is the last concept art that Gaëlle did, which is the raptors alone hunting, which I love too, because it nicely incorporates the kind of cyberpunk or neon punk kind of feel, where we see them hunting in an urban environment. And here again, we try to, like we see the new creature, or the modern creature, with the really old creature that's hunting them. And then the other concept art, the last concept artist that came on board was Julien Gauthier, another French person.
They're really good.
French, they're amazing. And Julien especially, he's unbelievable. So we had him, we wanted to have this big sacrifice scene in the middle of Tokyo at Shibuya Crossing, where that there's like some ritual going on that suggests a little bit more about the story, and also that there's some kind of hierarchy, some kind of social interaction between all the dinosaur clans going on. So that's what this whole exploration was about. So we tried to just show that there's something there that's like spiritual, that there's customs to it, that there's some kind of structure, and ended up in this this amazing piece. It's one of my favorites as well. All of Julien's work is probably my favorite stuff. Where you see that it's clearly an abandoned city, Tokyo here, but there's still still life going on. Just it's going on with the dinosaurs. And then the second piece he did is where we try to get a bit more into that spiritual kind of world, and we were thinking of the Triceratops clan as the keepers of the spiritual customs and the tradition. And this is a first sketch where he placed them inside a shrine, or inside, like a dojo, I guess. and it's interesting to see. I love seeing that he's actually working, with 3D models, which personally I wasn't very experienced with concept artists before. Working with them, but of course, like, why don't you make your life easier and you put some 3D models in there first to when you're figuring out the camera and everything, and
the
then,
lighting as well really helps to get your lighting right.
Exactly, yeah, all those things, and then we have the final piece here, which is that he painted up, and it's amazing. And there's so many little things going on in here that I love, like the little dinosaurs have the koi fish pattern on their skin, and then we have the kintsugi on the shield of the matriarch Triceratops, who that kind of shows, oh, she's been around so long that her shield broke, and then it's been probably by humans remade, so she's probably known humans before they disappeared. And there's a lot of other story points going in here as well that will be revealed when the story comes out. But of course, apart from the characters and the world, we also had to start thinking about pre-production. So we did tons of exploration about the environments, and that's when artists like Sarah Marshall and Marie Tricard and two more French women important, did explorations on the environments. We did a lot of color script kind of work and find those color spaces. Marie did lots of exploration. That's where we're getting a bit closer into the actual what it's going to look,
the look and feel. Yeah,
look and feel, exactly, of the actual shorts.
So you want to try to define like as much as possible in the concept phase. That's why we've done so much concepts, to make sure that when we transition to 3D, like we know exactly what we're making, because otherwise like you'd be wasting a lot of time and money exploring in 3D.
Yeah. And funny enough, we have one of our artists, Nayun, who lives in Tokyo or close to Tokyo. So she actually went on a trip, a research trip to Shinjuku, and almost got arrested because she was taking so many pictures. But
the police thought she was a spy.
But she made it out and delivered, some really good image reference for us for all the texturing and all that kind of stuff. So it was really great for us to plan. Here's a bit more of a look at color scripts that we did for many of those shots. Kind of the transition from the green and serene. Then there's like some kind of it's just the blue and purple where things are still kind of okay, but we're definitely getting more into that steampunk kind of area. And then we get more into the red danger kind of space when the actual fight takes place. So we try to guide that mood quite a bit throughout.
And this style, like we can we've defined it as neon noir, which is like the kind of style you see like in movies, like which we've got these bright neons and like a really dark alley. Like Benji has come up with also. Are you muted, Benji?
Yeah, it's a bit like Blade Runner. This kind of movie, we really like this kind of feeling, and what we love is as well, like what is amazing about Japan is you have like such a beautiful contrast between futuristic neon kind of lighting and environment, and you take the train, and half an hour later you are in the middle of like a Edo period like village, and it's like completely full of nature, and it looks like you are like in the Ghibli movie scene. So this is why like this kind of place is very nice to put your dinosaur in. Plus it's like Japan is kind of like the birthplace of kaiju movie, so it's kind of a little homage to the Japan culture, that we're gonna put like the original and the real kaiju, which was like dinosaur, and in those beautiful and very strongly cultural place.
And to make sure that we were hitting the right tone and the right message. We also had like a cultural advisor, a Japanese cultural advisor who works with us, Aiko. She's been amazing at telling us details like, for example, the bamboo collar is not the right one for Tokyo. Like they would have a different color of bamboo. And then we also have an amazing sound like composer who is Japanese, who's made sure that the entire sound that surrounds the trailer is also like 100% will make you a deep dive into the Japan culture.
Yeah, his name is Takumi, and it was so nice to have him and Aiko work together on the project and bring all the Japanese culture into it and the feeling. And we really wanted to make sure that we are as respectful as possible and about everything we are making. And we were trying to make sure, like, are you happy, guys? Is it good? Do you like it? Do you think it's respect enough? And they were like kind of giving like a cool little approval stamp of like, yeah, this one is cool. Okay.
I think what we really want is to make sure that it doesn't just look Japanese on the surface. It's also really deeply researched about everything we've done, like the kintsugi that Lucas has talked about. We have to actually spend months. Benjamin went to Japan last year to do a research trip as well and took thousands of photos to make sure that what the story we were telling sounded true. As I said, with the story with his father, everything every story that you're telling has to sound true, and that's the way we do it, is by making a lot of research about what we're doing.
Yeah, and that also feeds into the other element in this, which is the dinosaurs. So we had to do tons of research about these guys, and we had Raul Ramos, an amazing paleo artist, who helped us with that. And we basically, we let him run free, and he came back with tons and tons of research, how we have to model this, and apparently there's certain T-Rex skulls this is the Maximus skull for some reason. So they have names and they're famous, or they're like very specific. Everyone knows, you talk about the Maximus skull, that the history and what that one is special for and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Raul, he just worked through tons of that kind of stuff. How it's also going to then translate into, of course, the modeling part, which is coming later. And also then, how does it work with the juvenile? Because juvenile T-Rex has very specialized anatomy again. So he presented so much research to us before we started modeling. And then there's just one contribution that Benji made, and it's just this. That's the most important thing. That's what Jurassic Park apparently really got wrong, and so it was important that we got those.
Yeah, ones. I was supervising when I was supervising the animation. I was also animating, but I think like the influence of Jurassic Park is like so strong that people still have those like image imprint into their brain, and all the animators were like still animating dinosaurs like during the 90s and like in Jurassic World. But we really wanted to get as close as possible from like scientific accuracy about dinosaur, at least from today's last research. Plus, like, so all our dinosaurs are based on actual like scientifically accurate dinosaur, but we add these cool Japanese cultural element to it. So the T-Rex are like real, but they have like the samurai armor, but all the base and all the anatomy is I hope for the moment correct, because you never know, in 5 years we might discover another like thing that can change everything.
I think we were really lucky to have the biggest dino nerds in the world, with Benji and the other people who've also like done all these research, because what it enables us to do is to make sure that the rigs, the models, everything was actually, and the animation was actually on point, that it looks real. And it's the same thing as what we're doing with also the Japanese culture and the Japanese streets. Like we take photos, we document everything, because in the end, like, we want people to look at this and go like, oh, it looks like it could have been like, and that's the goal.
We want people to people who know their stuff, you know, paleo nerds, to say, oh, they know, they've done their research. And by the way, just, you also have to mention Rob, our investor, who apparently coincidentally studied paleontology before he became a venture capitalist. So he was, of course, you know, he was all on board with this one, and he was actually, Benji and you and Rob, you guys keep talking back and forth all the time, right? And exchanging references and stuff. So definitely really cool.
I just wish I had a photo of Benji's disc, because it's the most Jurassic dino nerd disc you've ever seen in the world. Like, it's got dinosaurs, like a 360 of dinosaurs, and reference to every dinosaur movie that's ever been made.
It's not the one I am right now. It's not the one I am right now.
It's not that one. That's your Warhammer disc. You've got two. Yeah, it's just something, like, it's great to work with people who are passionate by what they're doing and the stories they want to tell.
So now let's get into CG production a little bit, which I think Garrick will tell you guys a little bit about.
Yep. So we've seen that, like, basically the steps on how to make a trailer, and so far Lucas has, like, Benji has talked about the story and how you do the script and how you do the previs, and then Lucas has shown, like, the how you get, like, all the concepts working for the environments, for the characters, and now we have to figure out how are we going to make this in 3D, because in the end, like, this is what we the medium we have chosen, and so what we decided to use was, like, the industry standard. We're using Maya and ZBrush to do all the models, and so maybe you can show the first one, Lucas. So here you've got the base model for Yama, the T-Rex, and so this was just literally sculpted in ZBrush, and then you have to just make a base model, which means, like, a low topology, so you can actually animate it easily, and this was the model without any of the stylization, because as you've heard before, there are 3 clans in this world. For now, there might be more, but we have the Velociraptor clan, we have the Triceratops clan, and we have the carnivores, including, like, a lot of T-Rex's clan, and they all have differences because they've been genetically modified. So I can't tell you much more about this. It's going to be, like, revealed later on. But the T-Rexes have this amazing samurai kind of feel to them. So what we did with Chase is that we provided that he looked for some reference of Japanese armor. And so from the was it the Edo period, Benji? I can't remember. One of those. Oh yeah, he's saying yes. And so we were like, how do we integrate this into our model? And so we had some of our artists that just went and sculpted and tried something. So here there was the first test, but I think it was too far away from the concept and stylization. And so we dialed it back down a bit, but we knew that it had to feel like a samurai T-Rex, that the first thing you look at, you go, okay, this is not an ordinary T-Rex. And I think this is one of the biggest appeals of what we've heard so far since the release, is that these dinosaurs feel real. They feel like they exist, but they feel different as well. Not something they've seen before. So you've got, like, other little sculpt details about how you create, like, all the little scales on your T-Rex. So it's just very time-consuming process, So that's done in ZBrush, and then you apply the texture. I think this one was made in Maori or Substance, or a mix of both.
I think Maori, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think.
Maori. And then you start to apply, so this is just a color, like a base color pass, and then you start to apply some shaders to make it look like horns, to make it look like scales, like the reflectivity, like the eye has to be like a certain way to make it look like an eye. And so that was all done because we decided from the beginning that this show would be rendered in Unreal. We decided to do all this shader work, and all the surfacing work in Unreal. So this is a little baby T-Rex Tori, who has like less of the horns because he's still growing. But as they grow, like we've done actually like multiple sketches where you can see like the stages of growth. As later on, like we might expand into that. And then the next one is the big boss. So we have this big boss was actually he's the fourth clan that we haven't talked about. So there is in the city of Tokyo, all these three clans live in harmony, and this fourth clan, the Yakuza Dimetrodon, come over and kind of want to take over the city. And so they had to be very different from all the other clans. And so we decided like to put like the Yakuza, like as Lucas has talked about, the Yakuza design into the patterns, like, you know, the tattoos they usually have on their arms and on their bodies. We tried to put that into the dinosaur, and of course he had to look mean, so we put as many scars as possible on the dinosaur. And I think like when you watch the trailer, if you haven't watched the trailer, please go watch it. He is the quintessential bad guy. You can see him, like the first thing you see is like he's eating one of his little ones. And so we because this is an IP without dialogue, we had to make sure that all the story plots are super clear. Could you go to the next one, Lucas, please? So yeah, and then so what we did for the minions is, because, you know, we're trying to reduce the number of models we're having, so we just used one base mesh for both, like the boss and the minions, and then just worked our way there and sculpted them to make sure that like both of them were using the same textures, the same UVs, the same everything, so that there's less work. Basically, we can reuse the same rigs as well. And so when you have a lot of characters, you're trying as much as possible to think about all this. Like, how can I reuse my blend shapes? How can I reuse my rigs? How can I reuse my models? How can I reuse my textures and shaders? So I don't have to do everything 10 times. And so we do that on every project.
What's interesting with this picture here as well is that at some point we had actually planned on putting albino Dimetrodons in there as well, but we didn't find them conducive to the story that we wanted to tell, or they didn't add anything. So we actually took them out again in the end, but it wasn't a big texturing job anyway, so we didn't lose.
And maybe Benji, you want to talk a little bit about the sail?
About the
sail?
The sail?
Ah, the sail. Yes, yeah. What we wanted, like the sail to look like when you see them all move, it's kind of look like those banner in the in those Kurosawa movie, you know, like it's like often during war they were going to war and they all have like banner attached to their back, and we kind of wanted to create this feeling. And also if you check those boats during this period, all the boats look like this kind of sail. We kind of tweak the biology of the sail to look like an actual boat sail from the whole period. And yeah, and it was pretty interesting. And you can also, like a boat, probably you couldn't do that. Probably those animals couldn't do that, but what we did on the animation is like we could retract the sail down and put it up, like if it was like a boat, you know, and it could also show more like character and how like if they are very sneaky and try to be silent, they will like retract their sail down, and if they like try to take some space and try to be more like scary, they will like put up their scale.
And so you can see that in one of the shots. I think it's at the beginning when they all start to emerge, or towards the middle probably. And you can see on the Shinjuku gate, there is actually one of the minions who raises his sail to show, like, make himself bigger and more threatening. So yeah, it was also a very big challenge to animate all these minions, because there is a lot of them. I don't know if you've known in the whole show, in the whole trailer. But what you're seeing, like, what we did is like build cycles for every character. So you got a run cycle, a walk cycle, and then for the shots that don't have bespoke animation, like this one, for example, we have to animate that all by hand. I mean, the cycle is animated by hand, but at least like redo the animation for this one per shot. And so this is the first step. So in animation, so you have like your model in grayscale, you have your rig, and you kind of just start to put your cameras and your characters in there, and you want to make sure that you hit, like, for example, for each shot, you have an intention. And so here, like, we just want to make sure that the dad is looking after the safety of Tori. So he's looking around and making sure that the place is secure before they can go. And so we've done that for every shot, of course, and it took, like, I don't know, how many months of animation did we get on this? A lot.
At least for, I think, 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and so we wanted
was running throughout, I find, you know, like we were working on other aspects while animation was running, just because, yeah, it's such a time intensive kind of discipline.
And so here you've got the walk cycle of Yama, and what we try to do, and I think like Benjamin animated this one, what we're trying to do here is show the weight of those creatures, because they weigh a ton, or maybe a lot of tons. And so in the animation, you need to make sure that the impact of each leg actually is that you can feel it. So you can feel it through the shakes in the camera, but that's not the most important. The most important is like the timing of your animation. So when the leg goes down, you're going to try to delay a little bit the posing of the legs, so it feels like it's that very heavy thing, and there's no bouncing around, like it's super heavy. And of course you've got this tail who's just following around, like basically the movement that the body is leading with, and the head.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the hips as well. So one thing that gets like one thing that will get you animation right when you do walk cycles or anything walking is the hips. So this is like one of the basics of animation, but you need your hips to kind of come up at the same time as your foot comes down, so that you can feel the transfer of weight, and you can see it clearly here. Because the dinosaurs have what's that part, Benji? You more dinosaur verse than me, like the hanging part underneath the dinosaur that swings.
Oh yeah, this is like the hip bones. It's very, you know, it's like birds. It's like bird-like, and it's pretty solid actually, because it comes from the top of the hips to the real bottom, and this part is actually all the hips are pretty solid actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we go to the next one?
Yes, and well, the next thing is effects, which was very interesting, because we were doing the effect simulation in Houdini, but we had some issues, for example, with the dirt here, because Unreal doesn't have the same kind of resolution or the same kind of tools that Houdini has. So
it didn't. It didn't at the time. It does now.
It does now. True. Yes.
It does now.
So we were struggling a bit with the transfer, but in the end, like we had to cheat a little bit. We covered things with leaves and stuff like that, so that it looks a little bit better. But there's other stuff that, of course, like went quite easy. For example, the car, where we had some windows. We simulated the deformation and the mirrors and all that kind of stuff. And the only other part where we could use a little bit of effects is that last shot, because after that we were starting to run out of money. And
I think we also wanted to do CFX on those characters, so that is muscle simulation. So you lay down all the muscles in your character, and then when he moves around, you will feel all the jiggle and the weight of the muscles and the fat parts. And actually, you can also simulate the skin itself to have all the little wrinkles, the tiny details. So this is definitely something we want to add into the next one, but for this trailer, you have to say stop at some point when the budget runs out.
Especially when it's meant to be a case study, how you want to run something in an economic kind of way. It's at some point you have to say stop, but I feel like we still got a really good result. The last thing I want to show from the CG process is that we were experimenting with AI a little bit as well. So one of our artists, actually, he trained his own little model, and we didn't go with this. You'll see why. But it's still interesting. It was really interesting for us to see, and to go through what can be achieved. So in the end, we did a final pass on the very beginning and the very end. But it was only done as a layer on top with a software called EB Synth.
So I feel like what you're seeing right here is the traditional sense of AI, where the machine is learning on top. Basically, we have this animation that we're feeding into the machine, and then it's trying to figure out the style based on a lot of input. There you go. You got the input. And so that has a lot of issues because of stability that are just beginning to be solved. I've seen some stuff at the end of the year that's starting to look very promising. So that's, but you still have the issue of placing your lights and making sure that everything, the textures are at the right place. So this is an ongoing thing that we're going to keep exploring. But what we decided to go with Kyōryū, you might have seen in the actual trailer that at the very beginning and the very end, the style is different. And this is intentional. It's something we wanted to try, but also it's a story plot point. It's basically to show the it's a moment where he remembers how it was before the attack of the Dimetrodons. And so that style was, as Lucas just said, was done with EB Synth, which is machine learning software where you just paint a few concept arts on top of your renders, and then it would apply that style over the sequence. It sounds very simple. It's not as simple as what I'm saying. It's a lot of
we didn't do that. we didn't end up doing that, which because it's not working anyway, and we really want to try to be as artistic as possible. And so all the render are definitely human made, and all the painter part of the shot are hand painted. And after we were painting over every 5 frames, and after we were trying to render a process that merge and apply the style of every 5 frames through the whole shot. And with EB Synth, which is it's some kind of probably people know that, but some kind of software that try to copy what you're doing into a sequence, but it looks way more promise. It looks way more like easy than it is
Yeah.
actually. And you, at first we were like, okay, we're just gonna have to paint 1-2 frame maximum, and at the end you just have to paint almost all your frames. So you're like, damn it.
There's a lot of
An interesting
compositing
one.
involved.
Yeah.
Because what AI is good for is if you use it as an extension of a real life artist. So for us, we're figuring that process out right now for what's coming in the future. Where I think it can be an extension where humans can actually become more creative with it. So
just another tool, I think, and you've seen that Maya has just started to integrate, like in the latest version, some AI tools, and I think like we'll just see that coming more and more, and we just want to be ready for when it comes. But always, like, very important, like, to remind it again, like, we keep the artist at the center of all of it.
Exactly. Cool. Right. So last part, I think we're already close to over time. We quickly just want to talk a little bit about the future and tell everyone what's actually next. So Garrick wants to say a little bit about Cineplay and the convergence of games and film.
Yeah, you might have noticed at the end of the trailer, there's a little something, a little message about what to expect. And so Floating Rock is really about storytelling. We're not about the medium we're using. We're not about cinema or games. We're doing excellent storytelling. And so that means like we're exploring different ways of doing that. So one of them is, of course, a game, and the other one is a show. And so imagine, for example, like a storyline, 2 storylines running parallel, and between them you'd have like points where they come and interact. So for example, you would play like a character in the game, and then you have like the background story of something that happened in the show, and then you watch the show, and then there's an event that happened in the show that would be explained if you actually play the game. So we really think like the world right now, like the movies that are coming out, you've all seen Mario, you've all seen like The Last of Us. It's starting to get like finally those movies based on games are finally coming out and are successful, and I think they're amazing, but we just want to push it to the next level, and that means like developing the storytelling for both the game and the show together, so that it's a unified experience. And so therefore, like, people who absolutely don't want to play the game, they don't have to. You're not going to miss like a story point, like an important story point, by just watching the show. If you just want to play the game, you don't have to watch the show. But I think what's going to happen is that people like are actually going to cross and just want to do both. That's really our hope, and that's, I think, the future of what we're doing with Kyōryū, but also the future of what we're trying to do with the company.
Yeah. And we do have, Benji, we have a script, right? Or a scriptment.
Yes.
For the show.
Yeah, so we kind of just finished writing the scriptment, and which is supposed to be like kind of like the main story of the project, and that we want to, for the moment, we want to make it like a TV show with the scriptment, which is gonna be like the story of Tori and Yama, which is the young T-Rex and the dad T-Rex, wandering through Tokyo and being in the middle of this clan war between all those clans fighting against each other, and in a post-apocalyptic Japan. And we're gonna follow how Tori is gonna grow up and gonna grow from like a young T-Rex to an adult, with his dad helping him and supporting him and protecting him.
And I think it's important to just point out as well how similar Tori and Benji are, because Benji is obsessed with dinosaurs, and Tori is obsessed with everything human in his world. And so we just took Benji's story and flipped it around, and there you go. You got the world of Kyōryū.
Tori is kind of putting other dinosaurs in danger because of his passion, which I'm not doing. I don't think I put anyone in danger because I like dinosaurs. I don't know.
Yet.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing I can say is that we've also, because of what we want to do with, like with that crossover or that connection between games and film, we've also had some really good talks about a game that will hopefully solidify in the new year. So we will announce more once that becomes a bit more solid. But there's, of course, if you talk the talk, you also have to walk the walk. So we're trying to develop those two paths at the same time, and see which one we will be doing first, and how we're going to fit them, with each other. But there's definitely a lot of movement happening at the moment. And because of that, I think, Benji, you also have an exclusive announcement that you want to make.
Yeah. We are going to starting from February, we are actually gonna start from a second trailer. And if you have seen the first one, I really hope you liked it. And it was like kind of the first time for everyone, like making our own full Unreal Engine trailer. And we're gonna work on the second one, which is gonna be like a bit longer and better quality, better animation, better directing, better everything. I hope with like we're gonna introduce new dinosaur, new clan, with still we're still gonna follow our main characters, but we're gonna see them interact with other clan, and it's gonna be super cool.
And I think like it's worth to point out as well, next year we're going to 10 different film festivals and animation festivals and game festivals. And so we will be taking Kyōryū so to go see basically the big distributors and broadcasters that you all know to get like basically pitch the show. So we were waiting on getting the treatments, the Bible, the pitch deck, and now we've got the trailer, of course. So next year is going to be the year where we kind of pitching the show to get the funding and made. So it's been made in New Zealand. And for the game, like the first thing we're going to do is basically finish securing the funding for the slice. What's it called?
The vertical slice.
The vertical slice,
Yeah.
and finally after that, basically do the same thing for the game. But we are trying to think about the story for both at the same time.
Yeah.
And for everyone who doesn't know, a vertical slice is basically, a demo, a playable demo of a game, like 30 to 40 minutes of game.
And
so
Lucas is in charge of that.
what we really wanted to do as well is to make sure that in the same thing I talked about earlier, making sure that we can reuse. And so to a certain extent, like we can reuse also all the assets that have been made because they're made in Unreal, which is game engine, but also an engine that you can use for making shows and movies, and it's getting better every year. So we're really excited to be exploring that part and making sure that you can just work both the same way.
Cool. I think there's that's it from us.
Okay. Right. Thank you guys for this amazing presentation.
Thank you so much.
那线上的观众，如果你们也喜欢讲师们带来的这个精彩的内容，可以透过这个润一些回应给讲师们一些赞。I'm just telling the audience if they can share some thoughts and loves to your presentation.
We're getting hot.
Yeah. OK. 那我们接下来要进入这个Q&A 的 session。Okay, 那等我一下哦。Okay, so we'll have a couple questions. Wait a sec. Okay, the first one is for Benji. One of the audience is asked about if the Floating Rocks studio not interesting in your IP in the first place, will you still insist to develop this Kyōryū idea in any ways?
No, Floating Rock was interested from the start, and also
But
I
if
don't
we
want.
if we were not,
Yeah,
would you have
if
kept?
Oh, what do you mean? Like, no, you were interested in the.
No,
No, but
what if we weren't?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Oh, if you were not, I think I would have. Oh, that's a tough question. I think I would have continued on my own, definitely, because before presenting to Floating Rock, I already were doing like every weekend I was making like some dinosaur animation with Maya, and I was definitely ready to like work on my own. Obviously, the quality would have been like not as good because I would have been on my own. I would have asked help for people on their free and own time. But yeah, this is pretty tough because the thing is like there is so much content and people are all over the world are so amazing that it's very hard to make yourself out of the mass. And but I think it will have just stay like a personal project, definitely.
okay.
you can't undermine how passionate Benji is with dinosaurs, so he would have found a way to do it even without us. But fortunately enough, we were just as excited as him into the idea. So
I was doing okay on. I had got some good amount of views on TikTok, but yeah, that was.
and your cubic animatic looked pretty cool as well.
My cube animation looks cool if you see the trailer before, because if you just see the cubes the cubes dinosaur animation, you're like, oh man, that's horrible.
Okay. So another question, I will select one that is also for Benji, is that how long have you developed this IP from the beginning? And also like Lucas says, you are set to new target for games or feature films. Do you have set any timelines for the games or the feature films?
I'm gonna respond to the part about like how long did it took me. I think it took me it actually took me a bit more than a year, because I started with asking so one of the CEO of Floating Rock is a modeler. He's a really good modeler, and a few years ago I asked him to modelize a T-Rex, a dinosaur T-Rex for me. And I started from there, starting to create like small stories with my dinosaur and small animation. And the more I was working on it, the more I was like, okay, I really want to like create a story, you know, and I really want to tell a story about it. And so I think it will say, I really think about like Kyōryū itself around like a year before presenting it, but it was obviously at first it's very slow, and the more you get into it, the more you work into it. And I kind of wait a bit before presenting to Floating Rock, because I really wanted to make sure that first what I was doing was popular online, to see if like people were still into dinosaur, because like, you know, a lot of IP today is about superhero and other thing, and I'm like, do people still like dinosaur? Is it still a thing? So and apparently it is. So this is really cool to know that people still like dinosaur.
as for the timeline for the delivery of the game and the show, that's all going to depend on next year, because next year is the real year that we securing the funds for the game and the show. And so you know, it might go in the first festival and then we're lucky and then it's in production straight away. But we still know that whatever happens, like it still needs like at least 3 to 5 years of production time to actually deliver everything. So it's not for now, but what we want to keep doing is pushing as hard as we can to actually also keep going and posting content out there, so you guys keep following the story and see the progress that we're making. So as soon as something is actually landed in terms of funding of either the show and the game, you'll be the first ones to know.
Okay.
We do have like a Discord community that should be linked everywhere, you know, where you can join. And we're sharing information in there regularly about all the updates. Actually, we're sharing the information there earlier than anyone else. So yeah, you're going to get some infos there if you want to stay updated.
Okay, so the next question is related to AI, but the question is a bit long, so I'll break it down to small questions. Okay, the first one is that some artists will concern that the AI is developed really fast. So is there any possibility that animators or modelers will be replaced by AI in maybe near close future? What's your thought about this?
You want to go, Lucas?
Yeah, I don't think people will be replaced. I think they will just be doing their work in a different way. You know, I think AI is going to be a great tool to help people, you know, do their work. I hear a lot of people being afraid, you know, that it's almost, you know, like it's gonna be always the same. AI is going to generate always the same images, but I think actually if you use it the right way, it's going to be exactly the opposite, where you use AI as an idea generator. You know, you see, oh, you let it spit out some stuff, and then from what it creates, you realize it leads you down your own, you know, path of creativity. That's how I've been using AI throughout. And then what you've seen, what we use it for is, you know, like to generate images that we already have in our heads. It just helps us make them, you know, and make them a reality. So I don't think it's going to put anyone out of work. I think if you use it right, I think there needs to be a bit of regulation, you know, in certain areas where, you know, so that there is no just blatant, you know, plagiarism and all that kind of stuff. There's definitely going to be some rules needed, but I see AI as a great tool for creatives in the future.
I think the thing is like definitely AI like Midjourney and all those tools kind of create the same thing now. And back then when they started to I'm an animator, and I definitely was I am still like very scared about AI, obviously, and saying like, man, I've been working so long to like develop skills, and just anybody can just prompt something online. For the moment, it's pretty like it's pretty bad like for concept artists, because they didn't give their approval to have like their art being taken and feed into a machine. But what I'm thinking is like when motion capture came out, and we were kind of all scared that, oh man, motion capture is gonna definitely kill animator job. And what I'm seeing now and makes me super happy is like traditional animation still exists, and it's still the best. And people are like, for me, people will always be ahead of computer, and because you get bored of what computer is creating. And today when you check like real animation, and you check like real keyframe animation, like anime and movies that are like full keyframe with like real artists, it's so much better and so much more interesting than just motion capture, where you can see someone just input someone into a character. It doesn't fit the proportion, it doesn't add anything, because it's just like it's just boring. But like real animator, like all the animation, personally I will make sure that all the animation are keyframe on Kyōryū, and all the artists are like real artists that are very motivated, and that's it's like I just want like people to be artists. And I think as long as people continue to work and continue to try to renew themselves, I don't think anybody's gonna get replaced. I'm talking in a point of view of being an animator, but I definitely understand the point of view of like concept artists that that kind of work so hard, and this is a very hard and very competitive place, and you're like can see like nobody just prompt something and just like get a full rendered image. And this is crazy. But
you can
I
think about
understand.
it you can think it about this way, like there's going to be these producers or these advertisers who are going to use Midjourney and produce something, and it's going to look okay. But when we're doing things at the level we are doing, you're going to need like the eye of actually someone who knows what to look for. So you have to know what the lighting's like. You have to know what the shadows are. You need to know what style is and exists to actually prompt it if you want to prompt it. But what we usually do is like we want to have the people who don't know how to actually do these amazing concepts at the first, but have all these amazing ideas in their heads. So you would basically kind of get your reference. It's the same thing as looking for reference. You just create your own reference and then you feed that to actual concept artists. So for us, it's always going to exist. It's just a tool that makes it easier to give your vision of what you want.
Okay, so this lead to the next question is that how will you suggest these like concept artists or traditional artists to coexist with the AI? Yeah.
I think me personally, I will make sure that we will never use on Kyōryū AI to create concept art, and we'll definitely hire real artists. And I think it's this is my opinion, but I think it's the role of companies to continue to like help and continue to hire real artists to create something that is amazing. Like all the concept art we have on Kyōryū are made by real artists that have a lot of experience, that we love working with them. We love communicate with them. One thing that AI is not doing is putting their own ideas. Like when we have been pitching our ideas of concept art to the concept artists, we have like, okay, like you're like, give a kickoff. You're like, okay, we want an art that look like that have this dinosaur. We have this in our mind. And the artist came back with a lot of iteration and a lot of proposition because he put his own mind into it, and he put his own ideas, and he like, oh, I tried to add this little part here. I did this light instead of the one you asked me because I think it's better. So like the good thing about concept artists is like, if they really like what they are doing and if they really like the project they're working on, they will bring their own mind and their own way of seeing things. And this is exactly what happened. Like we were kicking off and we had stuff in our mind, and they came back with so much better than what we asked and so much more option. And this is what a computer for the moment can do. And this is why I definitely prefer and will prefer put a lot of budget into concept art instead of just having someone that prompt on the generator, AI generator.
Yeah, I think one of our big, this is one of our responsibilities as, if we want to be a company that enables artists, creatives to do their best work, then we have a responsibility to actually enable them. So for us, we will not, put any concept art out there, go to public that has been AI generated. But I still think, internally, as Garrick said, it can be a great brainstorming tool, like it brings great, it can, for me personally, I've been using it to just generate some reference that gets my brain working. And then I can get into the team and we create actual human art. So
I think to go back just to the question on how to prep for the concept artist out there to make sure that you still have a job when you actually like, I don't know if some people are still in school, if you graduate, or if you still get a job tomorrow, it's going to be to focus on excellence, because there's no secret, like cinema, games, they have an artistic part, but they also have a financial part. And so the balance for some people who are not making those excellence, like who doesn't have excellence as a motto, is going to be making things on the cheap. So that means going to AI and doing things there. That's not what we're doing, but I think like there's definitely going to be some people out there doing that. And so if you want a job tomorrow, just make sure what you're doing is the best of what, and you are the best at what that little specific thing you're doing. Benji is probably one of the best dinosaur animators in the world. And so I guess it's the same for concept art. Make sure that training and train your eye and train everything, and use AI if you need to, like to help you train as well. But in the end, it will bring you in front of the people who actually want to work with you and have the budgets to work with you.
Okay, thank you. So we have 3 questions left. Okay, the next question is more like the team production. How do you assign different tasks for certain artists? Yeah.
How do we assign tasks?
Yeah. How do you separate different tasks to different artists?
So every artist that we have, I don't know, I know it works a bit differently in I don't know about Taiwan too much, but we work with a Chinese company as well. And so over there, I know that people are more generalists. And when you like come to like the big companies like MPC, Animal Logic, Weta, ILM, like your role is very specialized. So you are an animator, you are a facial animator, you're doing just rigging, you're just rigging features, you're rigging humans. So it's very, very defined. And so the bigger the company gets, the more defined your role is. And so in that case, it's just very easy to define who's doing what. It's like you assign it to the right person. And depending on the experience of seniority, you can also give the harder tasks to the more senior people and the easiest ones to the junior. At Floating Rock, we try, like, we're not one of these big studios, big machines, and so we try as well to hire people who have more than just one primary skill. So it's not generalist to say, but it's an in-between where maybe Benji is an animator, but he can also do storyboards, he can also do previs, and so you've got secondary skills. And so we know all the secondary skills of all our people, and that's how we assign it, knowing their strengths, knowing their weaknesses, and also I guess that's how it's done. And then there's also
the last thing is probably that we also ask, what do you want to do? And a lot of people, especially with this, we had to hold our doors closed because they were running in the doors. They wanted to work on this. So, we ask, what would you like to work on this? Do you have an input where you think you could be helpful? And there's, for example, one of our effects artists, Stefan, who really loves working with Unreal. So he also helped on all the Unreal parts. So I think that's the last kind of way we assign work to people is when they're motivated to tackle a task.
And we also have multiple projects at the same time running in the studio, and so there's a team for each project, and so we try to assign the people we think fit the best to the project itself. And so if you're going to have like a strong creature modeler, animator, of course they're going to be assigned to Kyōryū. And then if your strength is more character animation, I don't think this is the project you will shine. But that doesn't mean, like, if they want to try doing creature animation, you're going to give them a shot and give it a go. But obviously, like, it's going to be more junior shots.
Okay. So next question is, I think he's trying to create his own story, that he would like to know that if I have too many thoughts, ideas, and didn't know how to getting started, how can I organize my thoughts in a more efficient way?
It's something like that came out I think at the very beginning of Floating Rock, and one of our mentors, Sydney Combo, told me this sentence. He said, like, whatever you've got in your mind, put it down. like do it's going to be a shit version, sorry for the for the swearing, it's going to be a shit version, but put it down, because then we can talk about it. If it's still up there, like, we can't actually talk about it. So the best way is to actually do something. So as Benji has done, he's taken cubes and he's put that together and animated the cubes, and then we were like, okay, we see what you want to do, let's iterate and make this better. And I think, like, for me at least, that's probably the best way to move forward as quickly as possible, is to have a version that you know is going to be bad, and then move on and make it better.
Just get it out of your head. Yeah, I think that's what I do all the time. I've been, since I'm on holiday at the moment, and I've been writing, not scripts or anything, just everything that I have in my head, I'm writing it down. And in the process of writing things down, new ideas form. So I write those ideas down, and then new ideas come from that. And then once you have everything down and you have it all in front of you, you can go and, okay, I like this, I like this, I like this, and put it back together and remold it, and then make something great out of it. So it's just, yeah.
Be sure that it's going to change. Like, whatever you come up with, like, there's going to be multiple cycles of change until you actually get something that's good. Like, I think there's a rule of 5 drafts for a treatment or a script. So you have to rewrite it at least minimum 5 times before you get something that's okay.
Okay, last question is that what challenges you think you ran into when creating IPs? For example, is it harder to attract others' attention since it's a relatively new stories?
Yes, it's definitely harder when the story is original, if it's new, if it hasn't been there before, because the people with money, they like investing in stuff that's known and that they know will give them a return. So for us, we were lucky. We had our own money up until this point, like where we were investing. But now we will have to go out there and find the right people who want to put money down for something like this as well. So it's definitely harder because it's new, but at the same time, if people wouldn't invest in new things, there wouldn't be any of the great IPs, that we have, that are established now. So we just have to make that leap.
I think also that we've got a very strong marketing team that helped us promote Kyōryū like as much as we could. So by Discord, by YouTube, by TikTok, everywhere basically. We did a lot of interviews with a lot of different like magazines out there, and I think like it shows in the numbers. We've got, after 10 days we had 1.3 million views just on the trailer, and so this is like a tactic that is kind of new. It's trying to build a community around the IP to before showing it to the big distributors for funding, so that they see that it makes sense to actually do it. There's already people who want to see it. So that's our strategy with Kyōryū. And I think like the second difficulty for us is that we also kind of a new studio. We're only nearly 4 years old. So we come from all these very prestigious studios as a background for all the people who are in Floating Rock, but the studio itself hasn't yet done a full movie. And so we're also doing a lot of vendor work on the side to prove that the studio is capable of actually delivering if we get, when we get financed for IP. And so we're working on 2 giant NBC Universal shows at the moment. There's no dinosaur in them, but there's extinct mammals, and it's basically their own version of Prehistoric Planet. And so we're going to deliver that in July. And then like the world is going to be able to see that Floating Rock is not this little place that no one has heard about. It's also like able to deliver these gigantic shows.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Benji, and thank you, Garrick.
Thank you so much.
OK， 那我们的研讨会就即将结束喽。好 ，And I hope to see you guys in the future.
For sure. Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for watching, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank
you,
you.
everyone.
So I switch back to my screen.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.
好，那就是如果还有在线上的朋友们，你们可以帮我们花一点时间填写一下这份问卷。那如果当中有什么内容，就是可以给我们讲师一些回馈，或者是给我们主办方一些建议，那我们就是在未来的活动中，就是还可以做改善这样子。Okay, so I'll be closing this webinar in like 3 minutes, and yeah, so I'll get in touch with you guys next week.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you, Ryan. It's been a pleasure.
Bye bye.
Have a good one. Bye.